Welcome to Francis Quilts, the site dedicated to the wonderful art of quilting, with a few other fun things thrown in as well. If you like what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can be notified of future videos. Hey guys, welcome back to Francis Quilts. Today we are going to be working on week 3, that's block number 3, in our challenge of 12 ways to quilt a sawtooth star. Now before I go any further, let me remind you, if you haven't already done so, please be sure to watch the introductory video and check out the resources that are available to you. If you need to find this, it is on my website, which is francisquilts.com. When you get there, go to the Quilting Challenges tab at the top and then click on that, and just under that you will see 12 ways to quilt a sawtooth star. Go there and you can find out all the information that you need about this challenge, as well as a link to all of the different videos. Now the second block that we did last week had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of curves. This week we're going to go back to straight lines. And as with the first block, I'm going to be using a ruler when I quilt my straight lines. Now, if you don't have a ruler or you don't want to use a ruler, there are some options, remember. First of all, you can freehand those designs. Just use your eye and draw them as best as you can. And you know what? Don't worry if there's a little bit of movement in it, because if there's a little movement in every one of those lines, it's just going to look like a design decision and not that you had done something wrong. You can also take an erasable marker and physically draw the lines on that you're going to be quilting. And that way you can just slowly quilt those designs. And yes, you can quilt straight lines with free motion quilting. You just slow down, take it easy, and you'll be able to quilt this block just fine. Now, since this block has mostly straight lines, I have made a decision to put it in the center section, the center row of blocks, just underneath block number 1. You don't have to do this. You can do it any way you want to, but that is what I'm going to do for this particular block. Well, thankfully, these intros are getting shorter and shorter, so let's go to the table and do some drawing, and then off to the machine. For today's block, we are going to be doing a lot more straight lines. This one is all straight lines, and it is going to be using a lot of the dot-to-dot type formula that we've talked about previously. This is how it's going to look when we're finally finished with it, but let me just show you a little bit about how we're going to draw it. I would probably draw a few registration lines here just to give myself some ideas of where I'm headed. The first is going to be in these 4 corners, something like this. And then the second one is I'm going to need to find that center point right there in the middle of the block. Now, as I do these lines, my first line is going to come from the center, and we're going to just basically make just a funky shape here. We're going to come from the center to some point along that line, and then we're going to come to some point up here. We're going to pick a point and we're going to draw up here, and then we're going to come back down to a point on this line, and then we're going to come back down to this center point. So it is a little bit of an elongated wonky diamond. We're then going to repeat that by coming from here again, and this time we're going to be heading to a point right here. So you're always going to be coming just a little bit inside the intersection there. So we're going to come down here, back up here, and then back down to here. The biggest thing we want to do each time is make sure we are hitting that point. So we'll come to there, just inside that intersection, here, here, and here. Let's do one more. We're going to come down to here, out, back, and back down. So you see we're going to end up with this star, this 8-pointed star when we're finished. It's going to change a little bit. I know we had said that in these particular 2 triangles I was going to keep the same design each time, and this changes it just a little bit, but if you look, it's pretty much the same design. We still have those same triangles in there, so I think it's going to look fine just to have a little bit different design, but you know, basically the same. When we finish that, we're going to come out to these squares out here, and we're going to do a dot-to-dot diamond in here. It won't be quite as wonky as these have been. We're going to start at this point again. We're going to find a point somewhere out here. If you want to mark that point, you can. but you can also just eyeball it coming out there. Then we are going to come all the way to here, to the end point. We're going to come all the way out here, and then back, finding a point somewhere over here. I'm going to come in here, and then back to the center again. So we'll do that on all 4 of the corners. And then the final thing that we're going to do is in here, in these triangles that we have here, we're going to come from the center. Okay, you've got the center here. That's where we're going to start. You're going to look for a point that's somewhere close to the center here, but just a little bit inside it. So about 1/4 of an inch or so inside. And we're going to come here, and same thing over, and then back to that point right there. And then we're going to come out. There's our center point again. And you may want to mark those. You may want to put some little registration dots there just so you know where you're headed to. Remember, you're not headed to that point. You're headed just to the side of that point. And this one will come to here, across, and then back to the center again. So again, with all of these, the only place that we are wanting to hit the point is these 2, this one, and this one in the center. Everything else we want to be 1/4 of an inch or slightly inside the seam that we have sewn. I've been standing here trying to figure out the best way to do these without having to break thread, and I'm kind of at a loss to do it, but I think I'm going to try something here. We could do it where we do this center section in here, obviously without stopping, and then we do each of these triangles here separated, and then these we could actually do just by starting on this outside point, doing our diamond, and then ditch stitching over to here. But trying to figure out how I can do some of this without having to stop. So what I could do, and I think this is what I'll try, when I come along here and I make this first line down to here, it's only about 1/4 of an inch to where that seam is. So I may just zip over there and do these, and then zip back and continue. Same thing when I get to here, zip over there and do these, and then back over and continue. That might work. That would keep me from having to do everything around it, and it means that I could do it all in one time. So I'm going to start out trying that. If I feel like this little bit of stitching right here, and honestly this is just 1/4 of an inch, so I don't think it's really going to be that noticeable. If I feel like that is causing issues and I'm noticing it, then I will stop doing that. But I think I'm going to start that way and just see how it goes. All right, here we are at the machine and ready to go. You can see I have drawn some markings here just on these 4 squares in the corner. Everything else I think I should be able to do just freehanding it. And I have my dot in the middle. It's kind of hard to see with all those other little squares. So we are in the center here and ready to start. Again, I'm going to be using my ruler Slim from Angela Walters, and we're going to just draw some lines from here to here. Remember, we're going not to this point, but we're going just about 1/4 of an inch inside that point. So I'm going to be looking for my ruler to end up with the stitching about right there. Remember, you have 1/4 of an inch between the edge of the ruler and where your needle is going to be, so I want to take that into account. And remember, if you're doing this without a ruler, those lines may be squiggly. It's all right. Just make them all that way and it'll be fine. All right, now if you remember, I said then I was going to come over to here, so I'm just going to take a few stitches from here across to that point, and I'm ready to do my dot to dot inside this triangle. Now I had forgotten to mark it, so let's just come down here and see if I can get some idea of where it is. It's going to be about right there, would be my center. And so I want to place the ruler so that my stitching is going to end up just inside. So we're going to come from here to just inside where that dot is. So about 1/4 of an inch or so inside there. Let's go again. And I'm stopping short of that purple of the seam there. And over. back to that point. I want to hit that point back there again. Now let's do the other side. So we're going to come from here, and we're going to come just to the other side of that registration mark that I put in. Okay, we have done that one triangle there. Now I need to come back over so that I'm at the point where I left it. Left the first petal. There's that. And let's go again. I'm going to go this way first. And I did that wrong. Let's take it out and I'll be back. So you can see I lost my plan when I was doing this, and when I got to this point I started doing a dot to dot inside here, when in fact that dot to dot needs to come this way and back out. I started trying to do the old pattern that we were doing for these two triangles. So we're back in place, so let's go again. So now we've hit this point, which is what we were coming to. With this one, I'm going to come down to here, and then if I remember, I'm going to come over here into this corner, and I'm going to do this dot to dot here, and then keep going. I really am having to stop and think at each point exactly where I need to go. Now, as I'm looking at this on this bigger scale, obviously the piece I was drawing on was much smaller than this. There needs to be something else in here. So what I'm going to do is just add one or two more sets of dot to dot lines. So I'll come in here and just fall somewhere inside there and back up to the top here, and then somewhere inside there and back down again. I may try to just do it one time, and then we'll see if I need to do it more, I will. Let's just pick a place, pick a point here, and let's do a line. There, and back up to this point. Another point somewhere inside here. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Just having those extra two sets of lines in there is wonderful. So now I'm back here, so now I have to think where I'm going. I've got to get back where I was on that middle part. And then this one is going to come out this way. Well, let's come over here and let's do these in the center here. Alright, that's getting a little bit easier. Now I just have to, like I said, keep my wits about me as I sew. And look at that, we ended up back where we started and didn't have to break thread except for the place that I messed up. And I'm really pleased. I think this looks good. Let's take a quick look at this block now that it's quilted. I'm very happy with how this one turned out. The only thing I probably would do different would be these are not the same all the way around, and I don't like that. So I probably would actually put some registration marks here, and so I'd have another registration mark where those inner points should be meeting. But other than that, I really like how it looks. I love doing the dot to dot because it looks as if I am actually stitching almost in the ditch, but it's just so much faster and easier, and I think that looks really nice. Well, I think that block turned out very, very nicely. I'm very pleased with it. It's fairly simple. Had to think a little bit while we were quilting it just to make sure we went in the right direction, and obviously I phased and didn't go in the right direction one time, but it was easily fixed. I hope you're enjoying this challenge so far. Next week we will be presenting block number 4, and then after that I'm going to present 2 blocks every week. I figure we need to not have this carry on all summer long, plus the fact you get your machine all set up with thread and everything else, and you do 1 block and you're just kind of in the groove and ready to keep going, and then you don't have anything else to do on the next one. So next week block 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. That'll put us finishing end of May, 1st of June, and that'll be perfect. I think that's it for now. So thank you for joining me on Frances Quilts, and I'll see you next week. Remember, if you like what you've seen, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please check out my website and daily blog at francesquilts.com, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Frances Quilts. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.